Did you ever think beds could teach you about life in early America?
How did people sleep? What did they use to stay warm? What would a rich man sleep on versus a poor man?
Turns out a lot happens in our beds, and the Wadsworth Antheneum just had a whole art exhibit to teach us.
Why is there an exhibit about beds?
Well, wouldn't you know, there's a lot to learn about beds and how differently we think about beds now than we did in early America.
It was everything. Even if you didn't have a lot of money, you spent a lot of money on a bed.
Yes. The bed was the most expensive thing you owned, and some of the components of the bed played into that. In particular, what would go on top, the coverlet, the quilts, all of these elements were handmade in beautiful patterns.
And you spent a lot of time in your bed because there wasn't electricity. So a lot of times when it turned dark, you just went to bed with your candle and you read or whatever you did.
There was not a lot of privacy either. The bedroom wasn't necessarily a room elsewhere with a door. The most expensive bed was typically in a parlor or a very social space where you would welcome guests, you would entertain family, children would be playing.
It wasn't about comfort back then. Your means determined what you put in your mattress.
These are the different fillings you could have had. This does not look very comfortable. Like this is, I don't know,
well,
what is that, moss?
Okay, this is Spanish moss.
Okay.
And depending on where you were in the country, some of these were more abundant than others. This was probably not so bad relative to, say, corn husk at the end.
Oh, that was the really, you couldn't afford anything, you got corn husk.
Not so comfy. And of course, the gold standard was wonderful, wonderful down feathers.
Oh.
But part of what we wanted to do, and what my colleague Brandy Culp, the curator of the exhibition, prioritized, was helping visitors understand really what the touch and feel of what life was like in these very, very early mattresses.
And in early New England, nothing went to waste.
People took their comforters,
yes,
and they turned them into clothing?
Yes. Yes. So this dress from 1805 shows the degree to which we were absolutely thrifty with repurposing coverlets and counterpanes, these other, these elements that began their life in one way and then ended it in another.
You spent a lot of time in your bed and a lot of time making it.
It's morning, time to wake up, and this really shows you. So you would have a coverlet, a counterpane, a sheet, your pillow, something to cover your feather bed, bolster so your head wasn't on this hard piece, and then the bedstead right here.
Wow.
So all of this, you can imagine a restless night's sleep had to be remade.
That's why homes had a day bed.
If you needed what's called a daily repose, here you go. Simple, bare bones, just you had the length and that was about it.
At night, your bed was the only place to get warm. These curtains on the canopy were more for drafts than decoration.
Okay, so even though we complain now that it's drafty or you turn the heat down to 60, they had none.
Oh, we have no idea.
So this is a bed rug? What is a bed rug?
A bed rug was not something that was a floor covering. In fact, it was a very heavyweight bed covering, just like the one you see here from 1802. They were inspired by pattern books. So you have these wonderful floral and sometimes vegetal patterns. And this is where your most expensive bed furnishing went on top of the bed.
The Bed Furnishings in Early America exhibit also has some priceless pieces to marvel at.
This is the earliest known pieced quilt in America.
Another special thing about this piece, it was made with dresses from some pretty famous women.
Notable famous women such as Martha Washington and Dolly Madison.
How fancy, a bed cover with dresses from the wives of our founding fathers. Later, bed coverings would become big business for women.
Here we are, it's 1859, so we're about 120 years after the earliest piece in the show. And you start to have opportunities for women in particular to run their own businesses and have quilt making and coverlet making as part of their livelihood.
Or could you imagine that these have been around for like a couple hundred years and they still look great?
that I think is amazing, just the artwork and the mastery of that, because otherwise something we make nowadays, no way, it won't even last 5 years from now.
So we're standing beyond the canopy because your bed was often where you were born and where you died?
And where you had what you might call a little laying in period after having a child. If you were sick, visitors came to meet with you and you know, send their regards, but it was a very social space. Again, you didn't have the privilege of just closing a door and having privacy.
How would you feel about having your funeral in your bed?
No, thank you.
Not only did most live in America without private bedrooms, remember, there were no washing machines either.
It was a lot of work to clean these beds.
It was literally all hands on deck with the children, including dangerous things like boiling hot water to clean the sheets.
Some fun facts that might make you think twice before complaining about making the bed today.
I think they're fantastic. You know, educational, informative, it's good stuff.
It's a great exhibit.
A lot of your life just revolved around your bed. The Bed Furnishings in Early America exhibit at the Wadsworth Antheneum just wrapped up over the weekend. But there are some other really great exhibits coming soon, including one on contemporary art. Did you know that you can actually go to the Wadsworth for free every day that the museum is open from 4 to 5 for happy hour viewings?
I did not know that.
Also, the museum is always free for Hartford residents.
I did not know that either. All right, to see what's happening at the Wadsworth, head to the museum website. It's thewadsworth.org. The museum is located at 600 Main Street, right in downtown Hartford.